Welcome to Wild, Creative, and Confident, a video interview series where you can learn from the most inspiring industry leaders on how you can use your passion and creativity to design the life and business of your dreams. I'm your host, Sarah Marie Thompson, the creative success coach from wildandcreative.com. And today we have with us Nathalie Guerin, who is a manifesting business coach and healer. And she's here to help individuals get into alignment so that they can manifest more clients that they love. Hello.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you so much for having me. Such a pleasure.
We've just tried to calm down after a couple laughing fits, but we are ready to go in this interview. So I want to start right away and ask you, as a manifesting business coach, which is all about creating, are you a very, very creative person, artistically as well as energetically?
I think that artistic, when you define that term, for me, it's really interesting. Artistic to me doesn't just mean art, and it doesn't mean just music. For me, I look at artistic as almost like somebody who's playing the harp, and the harp has very many notes, and there's different ways to play the notes, and then there's different ways to actually create harmony out of that. And I think that the artistry comes from the playing of the notes and of that. So in that respect, I completely am. I do have a math background out of all of this, and I have a degree in mathematics and computer science. Yeah. So you would go, well, that's not somebody who's artistic, but I have written a book. And when you think about even just the IT background that I was in, it was about finding solutions to problems that people didn't see and about finding the creative paths to get there. I am an integrator, which means that you get to see a big picture and you're trying to go to B without seeing the puzzle end, and then you have to create it. So in that respect, I do consider myself an artist.
Awesome. Well, that's a very good answer. I mean, there are so many ways that we can be creative, right? But I mean, I think number one, creation, you probably think the same, is that when we manifest something, that is creation at its peak, right?
So actually, I don't think so.
Oh,
really?
Tell me.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
So when you're talking about manifesting, I always look at manifesting as the co-creation in terms of turning your ideas into reality. And I think there's a spectrum, right? And there's things that we do really automatically. And when you say the word creative, I see the spectrum of the ideas being more in alignment with who you are and really kind of scary. And I think when I hear the word creative, I think on this term of the spectrum of this is where I am and I have a crazy idea and I'm going to turn that into reality. That's where when you're at the utmost creative, right? It's not just playing a note or two, it's playing a whole symphony.
Right.
It's about allowing yourself to get to that experience of it.
Awesome. So there is your answer. Tell me.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. I mean, no, I was just thinking that, manifesting for me and just, nature and all of creation, I kind of just always feel like that's the top of being creative. However, people can see that, right? So, I mean, definitely people are going to have different answers, but for me, that's kind of how I think of it.
I think ultimately creation, like the human body, you talk about, the physical plane that we live in, even that's a pretty amazing aspect, right?
Yeah.
It's the creation of life. It's incredible. Have you ever seen a baby turn into an adult?
Yes. Well, I mean, not all in one day.
If you did, I want to know. I want to take notes. But it's pretty incredible, how it's a miracle. And I like the idea of that. It's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. And so when I hear your definition, I hear the word miracle in it.
I was, however, once at a water birth. I was holding the video camera, and not having any children myself, I got to say, I left there a little shook up for a couple of reasons. One of them was witnessing the creation, but there was other reasons.
I'm not sure I'm ready for this, honey.
Yeah, I think I shed a few tears on the way home, and I didn't really know why. Tell me, did you always know that you would get to this place that you were at today, deep down?
I knew that this place, no. I knew that ever since I was 5 years old, and even before that, I knew that I was meant for something bigger. I felt like something was missing. I think it's a very common story among healers, among people that are heart-centered entrepreneurs. I always knew there was something more. I just didn't know what it was. And it was almost like always looking for an answer, always striving for something more.
Mm-hmm.
And you take one road and you kind of go with it for a while. You feel really good. And then if you're not on the right path, you get like thrown back.
Yeah.
For me, it was a journey of depression, which I got, but I didn't want to admit that it was depression. I didn't want to admit that it was part of my life. And then a friend of mine committed suicide. So I went like, okay. And I knew that I needed to get help because I promised him that I would find a better way to live my life. I didn't know then that I would end up here. I just started the process. I started healing. I started investing. I started looking for answers. And even then, something was still missing, even though I wasn't quite depressed, like, pills help and all of that, but I was still missing something. And it's only when I found the intuitive path that I knew that I had found the right, like it was like before and after, there's no tomorrow. I found theta healing, which is a healing modality, and I never looked back. And for me, it was like I remembered who I was. And from there, I just take it one step at a time. 5 years ago, time flies. I feel so old to compare it to so many of these entrepreneurs. But I was still working for my corporate job. I was working for Canadian National at the time. And I had a pretty big job, and I decided to just move. I'd asked the universe for the first time. I prayed for anything, and I said, universe, bring me a new job. And I thought that would fix everything. And I'd been asking, but I had really never asked really, and I never really believed. And one day I had an email in my inbox, and before I even opened it, I knew that would be my next job. And I applied. In the process, I got myself a bonus and a trip to Florida. And nobody, they didn't reply back saying you didn't get the interview, I was like, okay, but I was like, that's weird. It's my job. Yeah. And a month later, they called back and they said, yeah, we fired the first person we hired. And so would you like to come in for an interview? And I got that job. And I left because it was what the universe was giving me to start that change. I didn't know about coaching at the time. I didn't know that I would become a healer. I didn't even really know where I was going with this whole psychic thing. I just trusted the process. And it was like, that's where things ended up. And, I hear your question of, did you know you were going to end up here? And I'm like, yeah, but where am I going to be a year from now? I have no clue. Yeah. All I know is that more is coming. I'm asking for more. I'm open to receiving more. And it's more of a miracle moving forward.
Because everybody's been at that place where some kind of low place, whatever level that is for that person. But, only when we can really trust our intuition or our, creative thought that we can really get to a place where we can look back and see those stepping stones that we had to take and say, everything was there for a reason. I know it's really hard for some people that are going through a tough time to even see how that's possible, right? So do you have a suggestion or something like that if there's anybody watching that's in a crappy time right now, that you could give them to just being open maybe to having that inspired thought?
Yeah. And, I think when you're really feeling crappy and because you're not necessarily hearing anything when you're feeling really crappy.
In the bubble.
You're in that bubble of nothing's really good. Nothing's ever going to happen. And being an entrepreneur, we all know that it's like a roller coaster of emotions. So before you start to hear things and you start to really in tune with that, just breathe and have the emotion. One of the tips that I learned 10 years ago, and I think it saved my life, is, hey, by the way, I would tell this to everybody for 2 years. Hi, I'm feeling really anxious, and I'm telling you so I can focus on what I'm doing. And the anxiety would go away. It's 95% of the time that's enough. If that's not enough, use your tools, use what's in your toolbox. But the trick is that if you're feeling crappy and you have tools in your toolbox and you're not using them, that's the issue. Yeah. You need to be willing to actually try the tools. And if you can't, go get help. Like someone like me, someone like Sarah, someone like anybody, because you have a life to live and you can't live it from this place. And you can't offer the world the gifts that you have if you're feeling so discouraged that you can't open. Because when you're feeling so discouraged, your vibration is closed. And I even do it now. It's like, but even that's another trip, right? Like you could just sit there and go, okay, I'm going to open up my body and I'm going to be wild, right? Yeah. And just doing that, opening up your arms to your side, changes your energy because it's all energy. And all it is that your emotions are stuck and it's really just stuck energy. So do something to open it up. Mm-hmm. And that's easier said than done because when you're in that moment, like it could be the end of the world. There's different layers, but go get help. If you can't do it yourself, go get help. Whenever I get stuck these days, I call a friend and I say, I need a session. because I'm not going to get stuck there for very long anymore.
There's so many there's so many tools out there, right, that people can use, that can have in their toolbox. And I think we were talking about this before. It's just like, you can also get inundated with all the things that are happening around you if you're online, especially all of that, all these tips, tricks, techniques, even what we're talking about. I mean, everybody's offering something different to the table. But what could you suggest to the folks that are watching that they could really just hone in on a couple of them? Like, how can they really use those every day, or where should they even store their tools? And does that make sense?
Yeah, and actually, I'm going to say that if they have tools, a friend of mine had a binder with all of them.
Okay.
I'm not that organized.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, your tools are probably going to change, and you're going to have a couple. So what you need to do, if you're not sure which tools to use or which ones are right for you, or even which option to use, that's when you want to sit with the option and feel your feelings and see how you're feeling. Your feelings will tell you if it's the right tool for you to use or not. If you're feeling like, okay, you're really using a lot of EFT tapping recently, or a lot of forgiveness work with the I can't say it,
Ho'oponopono.
Thank you very much. What you can do is like set up an alarm on your phone to double check yourself, right? Like, how are you feeling? Clear it and then move on. You don't want to spend hours and hours clearing. You just want to make sure that you use your tools. And actually my phone is inundated with alerts to double check how I feel.
Because you can actually get addicted to healing too, right? I mean, people that love reading often read a lot of self-help books, right? And I mean, we have like 50 different tools and techniques in our self-help books that we can go to at any time. But again, it's really about I think it's called, what is it called? The perceptual lens, right? Like, we can get a book on Ho'oponopono 3 years ago, read it, have no idea what it's about, and then be ready for it now and find it on our shelf and read it and be like, that's exactly what I needed right now. So no tools are ever going to be just your 3 tools forever, right? I mean,
not every tool is going to work for everyone all of the time. Some tools are going to work for you some of the time, and some of the time they're not going to work for you.
Or you can blend, make a milkshake of the tools that you like.
Yeah, and that's as a healer and as someone who does coaching and healing and EFT, and I use whatever tool I have, and I always do it from a theta healing. I always do it from a 7th plane perspective, which is the highest vibration, and I let myself be guided through them. And sometimes it's a conversation. Sometimes it's not what we call like a typical healing hands-on. It's just a conversation. And some people will really like a particular modality, like they'll fall in love with theta healing, or they'll fall in love with Reiki, or they'll fall in love with pranic healing. All of these modalities are wonderful, and so it's about finding what resonates for you. And what's right for you is not necessarily right for me. My job is to help you figure out what's right for you, right? To allow that to come into place.
I know that with your website, you use the word universe a lot. So I want to ask you the question of how have you been able to allow the universe to help you receive everything that you possibly can?
That's a challenge every day. But it's a great question. So for me, it's about I use the word universe, but it's really about the energy of creation. I'm using it more and more in my marketing. That's the modality that I work. It's with energy of creation. Clearing blocks has been one, but clearing blocks alone is not enough. You still need to take action. And when it comes to manifesting, I've really honed in on the fact that there's 3 things that we have to do. We have to get really clear on what we want. That means deciding what we want and also removing the resistance to it. We need to start trusting, and then we need to start taking action. And those are the 3 things that I'm teaching people, but I'm also doing it for myself. It's not just something I'm doing for everybody else. I'm doing this day in and day out. I write my list. I go through it, I see where the resistance is, and then I move forward with it. That it's really about how do you take it and actually turn it into reality. Because we talk about the universe and start receiving, it's not so evident because it's such a big concept, and we're receiving all the time. We're just not noticing that we're receiving. And the work that we do with theta healing or any healing modality is about helping you open up, and I say ears, but it could be your heart, it could be your third eye, it could be your crown, so that you can ask for the information and start receiving. And the trick to all of this is that you have to start asking. And people don't ask, and you have to ask the right questions. Asking, when am I going to get money, is not going to really help you. It's what needs to happen next. And asking an open-ended question so that you can get an open-ended answer, and then you can apply it. And I don't believe that there is like a path that's right between A and B. It's really about getting the information and then deciding if you're going to do it. And there's probably millions of ways to get from A to B.
Mm-hmm.
And that the creator is just going to tell you which one to go. And if you're willing to receive it and then act on it, and it takes practice, because we're not taught to really hear. Mm-hmm. We're taught to like kind of use our heads and not our intuition. And this also, it's going to use our head and it's going to use our intuition. So it's a matter of allowing that and practicing that and playing with that.
And you probably get so many people coming to you that are like, I want to manifest more money, right? And so many people don't remember that money is just a form of energy. So just like anything else. So it's not really that you not having money is the issue. There's another issue, right? That you have to.
It's never the issue. Sometimes there are vows and oaths and stuff, but it's not about that. It's about being able to receive the information. And money sometimes is the block itself, right? Money is I'm going to manifest a mountain before I live my life. So really what they're doing is they're creating a block so they don't actually have to live their dream, because that's really scary. So when you dig a little bit, you're going to find out what's behind that. Mm-hmm. And it's hardly ever about what's really on top. And the deeper you go, the deeper the healing is, in the sense that it's the chances of it sticking, if you want to call it that, will last, because you've cleared it's like you've taken the tree and you've gone down to the roots and pulled out the roots rather than just pulled off the leaf.
Right. Well, okay, so when you think of infinite receiving, what is that to you? What's infinite receiving?
When I asked the creator to download that, I'm like, I have no idea what that is. I saw that on the paper and I'm like, what is that? So I asked the creator, I'm like, show me. And what I got is a white light coming through, and it's infinitely abundant. It is the highest vibration. It's love.
Okay.
And it's about becoming love. It's about becoming, and love by abundance, whether it's wealth or any of that, joy, has all that kind of vibration, but it is a very solid and expanding outward into infinite directions. That's when you say infinite abundance. That's what it is. It's when you're truly connected to all that is. You're doing your part. The universe or the energy of creation is doing its part, and you're really playing with that energy.
So when someone asks for infinite receiving, it's pretty much the most powerful request that you could ever be asking for, right? Because it really truly is just getting to that place where there is no negative emotion on anything.
Okay, so no. Because you're assuming that negative emotions are bad. And really, receiving is receiving all of it and not judging it. Who says that anger is bad? Anger is not necessarily bad, or hurt or sadness. They're all there to teach us. If we were just to sit here and go, okay, we're in love all the time, is that really a great life too? It's the experience of it. It's the contrast of life that we love, right? So when I ask for infinite receiving, I could get a whole lot of things, because the creator doesn't see anger or sadness as negative, right? And really, do I want to be in love all the time? I don't know, right? That's a good question. And when you're asking for infinite receiving, I could make the command to receive infinitely. One, everything is possible. The problem is that we're not necessarily going to believe it. Mm-hmm. So that's the resistance to it. And when you start to infinitely receive and you start to really go down, and I see it with my healing friends that are a bit more advanced in the process of theta healing, like the challenges that are coming up is like, what scares you about it? Well, that I'm going to lose myself, right? That I'm going to just be a channel for the creator, and then I won't be there anymore. So what happens when we get to that point? How can we learn to be ourselves and be a channel at the same time? And I think that's when you really you're able to be a channel. It's more like infinite channeling. Does that make any sense?
No, absolutely. I'm just like thinking, having visualizations as you're talking to.
I'm getting pretty deep into the process here.
This might be like 2.0 for me.
I am like, okay, I hope somebody makes this. I don't know.
If you have no idea what we're talking about, just email.
Email Nathalie. It's okay.
What suggestions can you provide to our viewers about increasing their ability to receive everything that they want to attract right now?
One, get clear on it. Get clear on what you want. And if you don't know what you want, that's okay. Go with what you do know. You know that you want, and don't go with something that's impossible. Start practicing with small stuff and ask for bigger things as well. To start acknowledging every single day what you're getting. it's so easy to focus on what's not working, what's not working, what's not working. Start receiving it. And then when you get a little bit more advanced, start sitting down and asking for guidance and seeing what you do get and applying that. And don't forget to take action every single day. Sometimes people think that manifesting is manifesting is asking and then just receiving, and you don't have to do anything. And that's not manifesting. Manifesting is truly the art of co-creating. Yeah. So you have to do your part. Could it happen that you ask for something and it happens? Of course, it happens all the time, right? And the creator is always there to help you. However, it helps if you do your part.
What's your suggestions on, there's so much teachings out there right now, in books such as Danielle Laporte's books and things like that, where she's talking about, if you don't know what you want, just really get into the feeling of what you want. Would you suggest that people should really try to first imagine or think about what they do know, or really get into the feeling of it?
I think you start with what you do know and start to feel it.
Okay.
Yeah. And when I say get to identify what you're feeling, and really for me, it's feeling, right? And you have to feel it. If you don't feel it, it's not going to manifest itself. And when if you can't feel something, if you can't imagine something happening to you, and the reason most people don't know what they want, it's because they can't actually feel it. They can't imagine themselves doing it. So when you're clearing that, you have to be able to work through that so you can start to feel exactly what you want to be able to receive clients. If you can't feel that, that's because you're afraid, and that's okay. You need to clear that. And the more you clear, the more you can feel the process. So, but that comes with a little bit more experience. It comes with a little bit more of, okay, I'm going to go through that process.
What has been the biggest achievement in your business or life/business so far to date for you?
You asked that question in the questionnaire before, and I'm like, what am I going to talk about? I actually want to talk about my book that I did, and I know it has less to do with my business than maybe it should on this interview, but I want to talk about it because it was about receiving. It happened after I had my thyroid taken out because of cancer, and it's almost like the information was being channeled through me. I was super clear and I was super open to expressing it, and I could feel it in my hands. And I think that's when, for me, it was one of the greatest accomplishments of my life. I am dyslexic, by the way. So it took me 2 years 6 weeks to write the story and 2 years to turn it into a good book, because I wanted it to be a decent book. But it was the channel of it that came through me. And that to me was the greatest accomplishment. And I think the more I work with my business, I will find a point in my business where that channel comes through me. But it's a learning curve. And the more, when you're learning, sometimes you're closed off a little bit. But eventually I know I have no doubt that what I'm doing is a channel of my business. And in terms of the things that I'm doing in my business that I'm really proud of, I would say the little things like the manifesting boosters, and I'm helping so many more people than if I was working with 90-day programs. And for me, it opens my heart to know that I'm helping hundreds of women, even thousands in my Facebook group. And to know that I'm not doing it like everybody else, I'm doing it my way. And I think that's where I'm really proud of today in this moment. Yeah.
It's such a good thing that you mentioned, because so many people, again, they see these gurus or professionals doing a certain method of a business that's very similar to theirs, and they think they have to have a premium package and a 4-month program and a 1-month program and this and then this, and that's so unbelievably not the case. I was talking to somebody, all they wanted to do was just create courses, and not do one-on-ones. And if this is your business, if that's exactly what you want to do, that's only what you should be doing, right? I mean, we shouldn't be comparing ourselves to absolutely anybody.
No, but at the same time, one has to learn, right? Yeah. It's one thing to tell someone to do that. It's another thing, and I've done it. I've hired these gurus, and I spent a lot of money doing that, and I've taken lots of courses. Nothing is bad. And I've gotten to the point where I'm like, it's okay to do it my way. And I trust myself to do it my way. But often, until we try it someone else's way, we don't know that it doesn't fit. And that's when you start to integrate it. And I like to call it a folding in. So you get all this information and then you fold it in. And as you said earlier, sometimes you get a piece of information and it's not going to make sense for another 3 years.
Yeah,
Or
absolutely.
a course that you took that you don't know why you took, but it starts to work later on, right?
And in your mind, you're so frustrated because you're like, I just wasted 3 years, but you have to remember that it was all part of your personal journey plan.
Yeah. For me, it's interesting because in my business, I've never felt like I've wasted a year. Like I've never felt like, before when I was in IT, and I always felt like nothing was ever changing.
Yeah.
Like I just wasted like 15 years of my life. I always felt like everything was stuck. Now it's like I don't have as much money as I had then. It's coming. I know that, but I don't feel the stuckness. I don't feel like it's a continuous evolution. And I think as long as we're walking our path, then whatever that journey might be, that feeling goes away. And if you're feeling like nothing's changing and you just wasted a year, that's because you're out of alignment in some way.
Mm-hmm.
You need to come back and go, okay, what is my path? What is right for my heart? And talk to your heart and see what it says next. And I do believe people know what their hearts are saying. They're just scared of them.
Because if you ask yourself, about a time where you felt like you wasted a year or you were having just extreme resistance, or ask somebody else that question, they would probably tell you, if you ask them, that they weren't necessarily listening to their intuition or checking in with themselves, right? I mean, that's really probably the answer.
Yep. And ultimately, I don't, and I hate to say this, but for me, I don't really think that anybody wastes any time. We're exactly where we need to be to learn the lessons that we came here to learn and the values that we came here to learn.
Yeah.
And whether it takes 2 years or 50 years, like people, I know some people that still talk about issues that happened when they were kids and they're like in their 70s.
Yeah.
That's because it hasn't been resolved. And who am I to judge that, they haven't resolved it? Maybe it's going to take them 70 years plus a day to resolve it. Who cares? It's about what your journey is. And there's not there's not right or wrong with that. But if you have the self-awareness that you're like, something's missing and I feel like I'm missing that, you have the power to change it.
Because we were even talking before we started the call about, people that have like diseases or something that maybe is technically wrong with them. And, they aren't ready to let go of them. Right. And I mean, that's their own personal journey and that's a wonderful self-awareness. But, everything in our life comes up for these GPS changes in our life path map. Right. So.
Yeah, and we also have to remember that the body thinks it's perfect. Whether it's you think you're overweight or a sickness is there, every disease that's in your body is there to protect you in some way.
Mm-hmm.
If you find the compassion for it, find the learning, then it can actually go. And sometimes the healing is the death. That's the hard part too, right? Like sometimes the healing comes when you die. That's the way it is. I'm working with a coach right now on my weight, and it's not it is a bit food based, but it's more about meditation and finding safety within that, and
Mm-hmm.
finding safety in losing weight, and the idea being that my weight is there to protect me.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can let go of that need and be compassionate about it and start loving my body again, then the things that I want to feed my body will actually start to nourish it, and I'll get healthier. And I think it's the same thing with disease. When you clear the need for the disease, you also start to do what you need to do in your life, whether it's to drink water or to eat something to actually help you clear the disease out of the body. And of course, it's always possible to have an instant miracle.
You're a very intelligent person, so I want to ask you this question. It's kind of personal, so you do not have to answer it if you don't want to. But
Okay.
the cancer that you had, what realization did you come to personally that you understood why you got that?
I got it because I needed to learn how to speak, to express myself.
Awesome.
And
Not awesome, but great.
I think it's awesome. I did tell the doctor that. His name was Dr. Payne, by the way.
Pain.
And he's like, oh, yeah, that's nice. And he kind of dismissed it. And I'm like, hey, because I knew that my book wouldn't have come if I hadn't really allowed it. But I also had done the work to get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to choose that. Would I have done things differently if that, knowing what I know now? Probably. I might not have had like my other half of my thyroid removed and all of that, because that does play on your system, and it is kind of hard physically to not have a thyroid at all.
Right.
But it taught me compassion. Most of all, it taught me like how to express myself.
Well, I mean, that's such a great story. I mean, there's such a amazing lesson and your awareness that you have by having that, right? Because so many people can, go through something like that and it can come back again, right? Because they haven't learned their lesson.
Yeah, and it can come back for different reasons, right?
Mhm.
It can come back because you're not completely done. I like the concept of an onion because you're peeling the outer layers, and sometimes it's like there's like lots of onions, and then sometimes you'll need something else, and it's like, oh, it's like you need to be tweaked, or you're just not done with it, and you don't really know that you're done with it until it's gone forever, and you die, and it's totally gone. So you don't really have that choice.
And an onion is such a great analogy too, because I mean, you get to the bottom of the onion and it's really hard to peel, right? So,
Yeah, that's why you send love, by the way. Finding the center of the core is easier.
you
You know,
burst it open with love. Okay.
yeah, people say like, "Oh, does this really work? Does this really stick?" And I heard Tony Robbins say this once. He's like, "It's like a piano chord, right? You tweak it, and then you have to come back and tune it again 6 months later or a year later if you're playing it a lot." So
Totally.
it's the same thing with healing, where you got to keep coming back and allowing that healing to come place, or until it's gone, and you don't know what it's going to work. Like,
Mhm.
I would love to say every time that a client came in, I knew exactly what was going on. I have to trust the healing, but I don't know if it actually happened. I have to trust that the creator did the healing. What I do know is that the person got their healing that they need in that moment. Whether or not that took care of the disease, that's something else. Which is why I don't work with the physical so much, because it's not, can't guarantee it. So I guess I have issues around that to work through. But the more I do, and I do quite a bit, even with my private clients, like they come in and we're talking about manifesting clients, and physical diseases come through. So I think it's a stage that every healer goes through.
But being a math expert, it's kind of like algebra, isn't it? Because the physical is always like the answer. So now we're trying to figure out like z plus y.
Okay, so what you need to know is that when you go to university, Waterloo, which is where I went, and it has the top program in, like it's the only school where you can actually get a math degree. You'll learn that science is chemistry is really physics, physics is really math, and math is really fucking hard.
There is no answer.
Just infinite. It's funny about that. I saw a talk with Deepak Chopra last October, I think it was, and he was talking about proving the existence of our spirits and all of that, and because that's what fascinates him. And I'm like sitting there, and I'm like, I don't need to prove it. I know it. And for me, it's not about making sense of it. It's just a knowing, and more than anything, I trust that infinitely. I
Hmm.
know. I have zero doubt, which is weird because you think you would. And ever since I've been able to connect, I've no, there's no doubt.
So what's a way that we could share with the viewers that could help them connect like a little bit more?
Yeah, I love this exercise because it gets most people out of their head. So most people think of connecting, they have to sit in meditation, or I can give them a crystal ball, but that would just be like freaky. And no, I'm not going to read for you in a crystal ball. That would just be wrong. So what you can do, and this is one of my favorite exercises, you can take a piece of paper and write out a question, like get really clear on what you want to know, and write out a question with your dominant hand. So for most people, that would be their right hand, and then answer with your left hand, and then have a conversation back and forth with your right and your left. Because what you're doing with that is you're getting out of your head, and often that'll be the information that needs to be channeled through you.
Nice. I
Yeah,
can
and
take a really long time to write it out.
yeah. Now, a lot of people will write it out and they'll go, "I can't read my handwriting." Well, take a second and rewrite it
Yeah.
in the other way, and don't be afraid to ask questions as you write this process. Like, people will tend to ask like yes or no, and acknowledge what you get, and just assume that what you get is right, because with time you'll learn the difference between what is divine guidance and what maybe is your head.
Hmm.
Right? But I know that the right and the left exercise with the works for most people.
What would you suggest to the viewers that are watching that could help them really find their soul's true calling in a business that they really love?
That's easy. Follow what you love.
Follow
There,
what you love.
a lot of people, especially if you're like, I have a true calling, I have to find my true calling. Relax already, okay? You know how often I've heard that?
What makes you feel great?
What makes you feel great? Follow the path, follow the crumbs, and it's the love. And there are a million ways for you to implement it. It's like the harp at the beginning when I talked about that. follow what you love, and then go for it, and you will be shown the way. And if you love 3 things, go for 3 things, and eventually you might pick one. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And you don't need to have it all figured out before you start. And the crumbs are the love. So follow the love.
And for people right now that are sitting and watching this and they are just like banging their head against a wall, trying to get this, and this out, trying to provide this to their customers, more content, but nothing's working, your suggestion would be?
Stop, take a breath, reconnect. If you need to, if nothing's working, it's really truly not working, identify what is working.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you're focusing on are the lack of results. So you have to do more of what works. And these are just like coaching techniques. Do more of what works and less of what doesn't. As much as I love blogging is not getting me clients. So I need to put that aside for a while and focus on what's going to make me clients.
Mm-hmm.
And that means, and it's fairly simple. Stop putting out offers. Go talk to your people. Go find out what they love. Build offers that you love and that they love. Tell them about it. Connect with them. Reach out and repeat.
Simplify. Like, get simple. Like yeah. What is it that you need, and what is it that's really going to work for you for that in this moment, right?
Yeah. And I like to, in the challenge that I'm in, my 4-day challenge, I get people to ask for divine information, ask for divine guidance. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of people forget that it's about co-creating, and you can't just receive downloads, and you can't figure it all out by yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
the fear is that you're going to go talk to people, and really talking to people, talking to your tribe is the fastest way to get clarity in your business and figure out what's working and what's not. And don't do it from a sales place. Do it from, hey, I'm curious, what's happening for you? And what's missing for you,
coming from a place of learning. So tell us about your latest projects that you're doing right now. Like, what are you up to behind the scenes?
So behind the scenes, I'm working on Manifest Clients with Ease, which is an e-course that the idea was to do 4 videos, 4 simple exercises. And I called it Manifest Clients with Ease. It turned into 5 videos and about 12 exercises. So it's more of a boot camp, but it's really there to help women entrepreneurs to really connect, really find what they want, release their blocks to what they want, find trust, and then take divine inspired action and raise their vibration. I give them the tools that they need to do in order to be able to do that. And for me, I've sold 52 of them so far. It is the best thing that I have put together. If anything, it has come through me, because that's really not what I expected it to come. It's a blend of modalities. But it's a way that everybody can follow. And I did it for the common person. I didn't do it for just the super intuitive people. I really wanted everybody to be able to do it. So what will come for that, and probably a little bit later in the year, because right now I'm trying to do Facebook ads with it to try and reach more people. I will be doing a 6-week live workshop through it. So that's really my one and only project. I'm doing other little things here and there, but that's really my main.
You're keeping it simple, like,
yeah,
right? Like, because that's how you're going to be the best at those things that you're working on.
Yeah.
You have a freebie that you're giving out to everybody, and can you just share what that is?
Yeah, it's a 4-day Manifest Unexpected Client Challenge. So would you like to manifest unexpected clients in the next 4 days? And if the answer is yes, come check it out. And it's really a lot of fun. You go through about a 10-minute video. I think the first day is about 13 minutes, but all the other ones are less than 10 minutes. And you basically get through the actual manifesting activities. Because a lot of people don't really know what manifesting is about, or they keep saying they don't know how. This will actually get you through the how. And if you do the exercises, the universe is going to surprise you. You're going to manifest unexpected clients. Even I did that in the last round. I was like, oh, because I ended up doing the challenge, right, with them the first time I did the live challenge. This is an ongoing challenge, so you can do it today, you can do it tomorrow, you can do it the next week. It's a mini course in manifesting clients, and it's beyond and above business training. It has really little to do with business training. If anything, all that white noise that you hear about, you'll be able to really like bring it in and go, okay, what's right for me, and then take that action.
Awesome. Where can people find you online?
They can find me at nathalieguerin.com. So
I will put that in the bio.
Thank you. And I think you can see my name on the screen as well.
nathalieguerin.com.
If you go to the free stuff tab, there's a whole bunch of free stuff, including the challenge.
Perfect. Awesome. I've got one last question for you before we go. What is it that makes you wild, creative, and confident?
Oh, wild. That's funny. I never fit in like, that's big. I don't know how to answer that. Hold on. Yeah. Why am I wild? I think the wild part is that I'm willing to follow my dreams. Like I get an idea and I run with it. I've been around the world. I have written a book. I have, it's just who I am. I'm not going with the standard flow. I think that makes me absolutely crazy wild. I go with my gut more than anything. Yeah.
Wild
Confident.
like the wind.
Yeah, I took a pottery class once, and how in pottery you have to like get the pot, like the clay centered, so
Yeah,
that you can actually like
like
raise it.
Ghost, like on
Yeah,
Ghost.
I suck at that, and so I told my mom, and she's like, Natalie, maybe you're just not meant to center anything. So I'm just not meant for a mold. Like that's just who I am.
Yeah,
Did you say also confidence? What wild and what?
wild, creative, and confident.
Creative, I think it's my life journey to be creative and to express myself in the way. And confident, I know that I'm doing my path. I may not be there in terms of the business success yet, and it's coming, and I'm doing pretty good. It can be better, and it will get better. But the work that I do, I have 100%, 100, 200% confidence in that. Not that I have a big head, I'm humbled, but I'm also recognizing that there's a gift in that for me.
Awesome. Well, I really thank you for all of your honesty during our chat. And I know that so many people are going to get so many good, awesome tidbits out of our conversation. And I thank you again for being on with us. And thank you, everybody, for watching. I hope you really enjoyed this one. And don't forget to check out the new Wild, Creative, and Confident program, 6 Steps to Creative Success. So we will see you again soon. Thanks so much.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.